Alright everybody, in this lecture we're going to talk about slider, how we can create a beautiful slider for our website with different slides that rotate, and we have arrows that we can use to go to next slide, stuff like that. You may have seen things like these on different websites. So that's exactly I'm going to show you how it's done in this lecture. Now let's go to the backend, and when we installed Unbound theme, it required us to install a few plugins, right? And one of those plugins was Slider Revolution. Now, not every theme comes with Slider Revolution. Mostly free themes don't come with Slider Revolution. But if we talk about premium themes, like 95% of those come with a slider, okay? And most of the time that slider is Slider Revolution. So Slider Revolution is very popular. Doesn't matter what theme you are using. Even if you are using a free theme like Astra, you can always install Slider Revolution plugin, and you can always create a slider and put it on any page, okay? Because it is an independent plugin, and basically you can install it on any theme that you like. So let's see how we can create a beautiful slider using Slider Revolution plugin. So on the bottom left, we have Slider Revolution. Click on that. And you can see we have a slider that this demo imported, even though this slider is not on the home page. The section that you see on top of the home page is not created with Slider Revolution. That is all WordPress Bakery. That doesn't slide or anything, okay? So this slider must be on some other page that it imported. So let's delete this because we're going to create a slider from scratch. Click on new blank module. New blank module means we are creating a new slider, basically. Alright, once you create a new slider, you will see this welcome screen, and it basically shows that do you want to see the guide on how to use Slider Revolution. If you want, you can start guide, but we don't need that for now. Let's close it out. Alright, this is how the slider looks now, and on the top left you see slides. This is where all of our slides will appear right now, and we can add new slide anytime we want. And currently we are on slide 1 that we are editing. And on the top center you can see the size of our slider, like how much space it will take on the page. Now on the top right, the second last option that you see is slide option. If I click on that, this is where we manage all of our slide options. And the first option that you see, it is already selected and it is background. And this is where we can add our background. So let's change the type to image and click on media library and select the image that we want for our slide. So let's select this one and insert. And as you can see, now we have a picture for our slide. Alright, so let me save it. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add this slider on our front page, so that way we can preview our changes whenever we make changes. Alright, so what we can do, go to slider settings. The first option that you see is slider settings. All of slider settings can be found there on that gear icon. Once you click on that, you will have all the slider settings. Now this first option is the slider option. All of slider related options will be found under this gear icon, okay? So here we see the shortcode of our slider. So let's copy the shortcode, and we can paste the shortcode wherever we want to display our slider. So let's go to the front end and edit with WordPress Bakery page builder. And let me remove this section that is built with WordPress Bakery because we want to add Slider Revolution here. So let me remove that. And let's click on plus for this section to add a new row. Select row. And let's drag this row on top of this section right here. Okay. Now let's add a text widget here. Search for text. And let's paste that shortcode. Save changes. And as you can see, we have our slider now. Now our header is a transparent header. It should be on top of our slider, but as you can see, it is not currently. So what we can do, we can basically pull our slider on top a little so it covers the header area. So we can go to design options and we can give it a margin top in the negative. Let's try negative 40 and see what happens. Save changes. And as you can see, now it looks better, but we still have white space on top. So let's change it to 70 and save changes. And as you can see, now it looks good. Let's close, update, and let's close out. And as you can see, it looks good, but it is empty for now. So let's go back and start creating it. Now on the top right side, let me explain all these 4 icons again, because these 4 icons are extremely important. The first one, like I told you, this is slider setting. All of the slider related settings will be found here. Now the first one is slider settings. You can see it says module general options. That means slider general options. The whole slider settings will be found under here. Alright. And we have different options, as you can see: title, layout, content, defaults. Next to that we have navigation options. Now it is obvious. The navigation options are basically like, do you want arrows on the slider, or do you want bullet points, do you want thumbnails, like how do you want to navigate between different slides. Okay, all of that settings is found under navigation, and we will go through these, don't worry about it. And next to that we have slide options. So these options are related to the slide that you have selected. Like I said, we can add as many slides as we want. We can add background image on the slide, and currently we are editing slide 1 and we have added the background image on that slide that we are seeing right now. And we can add animation to this slide. We can do different things on this slide. Alright, the last option is layer option. Now we can add different layers. Like if you add a text on this here, now we can add different layers on our slides. Like we can add text, we can add buttons, we can add shapes. All those are called layers. Text, buttons, shapes, etc. all those are called layers. And whenever you select a layer, their setting will appear under layer options, which is the last option on top right. Alright, so let's go back to the slider setting, and as you can see we have different options. So let's click on layout, because I want to change the size of our slider. You can see under layer area size we have size of our slider, which is for the desktop version. Let's change its height to 700 pixel and let's save. And now let's refresh. And as you can see, its height changed. Let's actually change it to 800, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now it looks fine. So let's go back, and now let's add text on it. You can see if we go to add layer, we have different options. Let's add text, and as you can see on the top right, we are on the last option, which is layer setting. Like I said, all of the layer setting will be found here. Okay, so the first one that is selected right now under layer setting is content, and this is where we can add the content for our text, and this is the text. So let me grab some dummy content. So let's type your marketing strategy begins here. You can type anything, it's a heading, it can be anything that defines your business. Your next marketing strategy begins here. So for example, you want to break it into 2 lines. So what you can do, you can add a break tag. Now break tag, it is basically a code, or you can say it is HTML tag that we can use to break text into 2 lines. It is used here. Okay, on the website you don't need to use anywhere, but on the slider you need to use it here. Okay, so as you can see we have the text on 2 lines. So now let's change its style. Style means we want to change its font size, we want to change its color, stuff like that. So let's go to style, and we have its font size. Let's change it to 70, and you can see it is bigger, but its line height is way too short. So let's increase its line height so that we can have some space between the lines. 55, let's change it to 75. Okay, that looks good. So now let's change font width. Let's make it a little bolder. So let's select 900 black. Okay, this looks good. Let's change line height to 80. Alright, that's fine. Actually, let's change line height to 80, and let me drag it to a different position. Let's save changes, and let's see how it looks on the front end. And as you can see, it is way above. So let me scroll down a bit and let me drag it. Maybe here. Maybe you can use the wheel on your mouse to scroll down or scroll up on the slider, like I'm doing right now. Let's save changes. And let's refresh. Okay, now it is in the center, but we also want to add some text and button. We will change its position then. Alright, so let's go to add layer, and let's add some text. And in the content we can, let me grab some dummy text. Go to lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is basically the dummy text that you can grab. So let me copy this. Go back and let's paste that here. Okay, and as you can see, we don't want it to go like that. Okay, we want it to be equal to our heading. Okay, so what we can do, so basically we can go here that says line break, and we can change it to content based, and let's change it to width based. So we can go to line break and change it to width based. So what we can do, we can drag our box. If you don't do width based, then what you can do, you can use break tags to break the lines like we did on the heading. But if you don't want to use break tag, you can also do this. Just change the line break to width based, and that way you can just make the box smaller and text will go along with it. So those are different options to do the same thing basically. So let's put it right here. So let's go to style to change some of its font settings. Let's change the font size to maybe 18, maybe 19. And let's change the font family to something else. Okay, this looks fine. And now let's add a button. Go to add layer, button. And as you can see, we have different button options that we can select from. Let's select this one. Let's drag it right there. Let's close out. Let's go to content and let's change its text. Maybe just get started. Let's go to style and we can change its background color, text size, stuff like that. So let's go to slider setting and save. Let's refresh. And as you can see, we have all those three, but their position is not good. So let's change their position. Let's scroll down with your scroll wheel on the mouse and let's drag it right there. And right here. Okay, let's save changes and now let's try. Okay, they are a bit down now, so let's bring them a little up, maybe there. And there. Let's save and now let's check. Okay, this is not bad. Maybe a little down, just a little, like that. Refresh. Perfect. Now let's try to add animations to these different layers. So on the layer setting, just go to animation and you can see we have keyframes. This is basically the animation, and we have in and out. This is basically how animation starts and ends. For in, let's select you can choose anything. You can see we have a lot of options for animations, so let's just select one. And for out, you can select, and you don't need to select out, it is not necessary. So let's select this paragraph and also add animation to it. Maybe this one. All right, let's do the same thing with button. Let's select maybe this one. All right, now we have the animations. Let's save and let's go to the front end and see how animation looks. And as you can see, it looks fine. Let's change them to something better. And we also have options like start time. Like if you want the animation to start after some time, you can do that. So let me change animation to something better. Maybe, okay. You can see we have letter transitions too. All kinds of transitions can be found here. Like they added lots and lots of animations for us. So let me change their animation to something better. Okay, I changed their animations, so let's see how they look now. And now the animation looks a lot better. Okay, now in order to have navigations, of course we need to have more slides. So let's add one more slide. If we go to slides, what we can do, we can duplicate this slide. That way we don't have to write this text again, add that button again, stuff like that. If you have done a lot of work on a slide, you can just duplicate it and change few things. So you see this button right here, that is the duplicate button. Let's click on that and it will duplicate that slide for us. Now if we go to slides, you can see we have two slides now. And now we are on the second slide and we are editing the second slide. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the layer setting and I'm gonna change the heading text to something else, something like that. Alright, you can do the same thing for paragraph and button, but I'm gonna keep it as it is. So let's go to the slide setting and change the background image to something else. Let's select this one. Alright, looks good. So let's save. And if we go back to the front page, you can see we don't have navigation yet because we have not set any navigation as for now. But if you wait for some time, the next slide will show up. There we have. But we don't have any control over the slides. So let's set up some navigation options. Let's go back, go to navigation options, and first is progress. You can set up progress bar. That way there will be a bar. When that bar fills up, like it goes all over the screen, then the next slide will show up. And that doesn't look that elegant in my opinion, but let me show you. We can set the color, we can set the height, stuff like that. Let's change the color to orange. Let's change its height to maybe 8. Let's save. And refresh. And as you can see on the bottom, we have that progress bar. So once it completes, we have the next slide. So let me close that out. It doesn't look that great in my opinion. Next to the progress bar, we have arrows. So this is an important one. We should have arrows that user can use to go through the slides. We can change arrow to whatever we like. And on the slider, you can see we have arrows that we can see. And you can change to any arrows that you like. Let me select maybe this one. Next to that, we have bullets. If you want bullet points on your slider, you see we have the bullet points like these. You can also change their style to anything you like. Let's select this one. Next to that, we have tabs. You can also select that, and as you can see, we have tabs now. Those tabs basically show the thumbnail of the slide, and we can set up a thumbnail. Okay, otherwise it will take the picture from your slide. It is better to set up thumbnail for that. Okay, let me close that out. I'm not a fan of tabs either. So let's save changes. Let's go to front end, refresh. And as you can see, now we have arrows and bullets, and we can use bullets to go through the slides. Okay, looks cool. And also for tabs, if you're wondering where you should change the thumbnail, you can see under slide setting we have thumbnail option. This is where you can change the thumbnail. You can see when we hover over bullet points, it shows the thumbnails, and you can change the thumbnail here. And you can choose any thumbnail you like. So let's go back to the slider setting and click on defaults. This is where we can change the slide duration, like how much time a slide takes on the screen, okay, when the next slide shows up. So that duration can be changed under slide duration. So let's change it to, you can see 9000 millisecond. That is basically 9 seconds. That is a lot. Let's change it to 2 seconds. 2 seconds is a lot shorter, but I just want to give you the example. Let's save. And now let's refresh. And as you can see, it takes 2 seconds for the next slide to show up. So that was all for slider evolution. And if you have any question or if you run into any trouble, just let me know. And you can see it looks amazing. You can create any kind of slider you want, and you can use slider evolution plugin on any theme. Doesn't matter if it is a premium or it is a free theme. Most of the premium theme come with slider evolution, so you don't need to worry about that. So thank you guys for watching this, and I will see you in the next one.